Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. So the main event of last night's Monday Night Raw, with Randy Orton taking on Drew McIntyre for the 1,332nd time, put my ass to sleep. It put me out for the count like Randy Orton came right into my living room, RKO'd me, and made me knocked out for the rest of the night. And then, much to my surprise, I woke up this morning, and on a night where the WWE had set up the Elimination Chamber and gave us a few matches for the pay-per-view, the number one trending topic out of last night's Monday Night Raw was Nia Jax's butthole. Yeah, that's right, that's a thing now. Nia Jax's butthole was the talking point for everybody. Respected social media outlets, wrestling news sites, wrestling news YouTube channels. This was the most important thing on the road to WrestleMania right now. And we are going to talk about that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
What a ridiculous night in the world of the WWE once again, which is the norm. We should come to expect this type of ridiculousness when we sit down Monday nights and watch Monday Night Raw. But because I got knocked unconscious by the main event last night and we had a little bit of time today to talk during the day, I put a little question and a little bit of a poll up on the YouTube community posting board here at Sledgehammer TV, and I wanted to know what you guys thought was the worst segment of this evening, or last evening as it were. I gave you the 4 most poop hammer worthy segments of the evening. Randy versus Drew, which for obvious reasons, not just because they put me to sleep, but because it was pretty much just the same old song and dance with a DQ ending, which is WWE's favorite new ending, second only to the Flash pinfall roll-up out of nowhere. So, we had that. We had the Elimination Chamber announcements, which to me were just disastrous. Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair and Lacey, and the whole scenario with Asuka that has really been tweaking my melons after last night's show. And then, of course, the out-of-nowhere table match that nobody expected and nobody ever wanted to see, Lana versus Nia Jax, where what's not important is not how Lana put Nia through a table or anything like that. No, it's Nia Jax screaming, "My hole! Look at the face! You see the face there? Oh, my hole! My hole!" Listen, I hope this girl didn't seriously hurt her exit ramp, but I really don't care about this particular thing. This is nonsensical. This is like a 5th grader laughing at a fart. Oh, he hurt his butthole. Blah. My hole. Ugh. It was a close race, and the number 1 and 2 choices were very neck and neck. But I couldn't agree with you guys more, as 33% of you thought the Elimination Chamber announcements were the worst thing about last night's Monday Night Raw. And even though we're talking about Nia Jax's butthole, and even though we got Charlotte and Lacey and Rick and all that disgustingness, the worst thing about last night definitely was the Elimination Chamber announcements, and I will tell you why. I will tell you why that is. Not only is it a lazy, easy way out, oh, we have filled the Elimination Chamber and we're going to fill it up with former champions. You need to be a former champion to be eligible to be in the Elimination Chamber. So even still, why are the former champions not qualifying? We don't need qualifying matches anymore. We are just going to have Adam Pearce make this announcement. And by the way, To make the evening even worse, Raw started off with Shane McMahon on this show. Shane McMahon came to drip the buckets of sweat all over the Monday Night Raw set. Showed up in the ring, stood next to Adam Pearce, said he had a big announcement, but then Adam Pearce made all the announcements and Shane McMahon just stood there sweating. And I just don't understand what Shane McMahon's purpose was. He had another little segment later in the evening, not that much later, but minutes later, where he bumped into Drew McIntyre and did the McMahon shtick of, kind of, well, I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm a McMahon, and then bolted out of there without giving Drew much reason for what just happened. So his whole entire existence on this show was absolutely pointless. Here comes the money! Did nothing. Did absolutely nothing. So there are multiple things wrong with the way they structured the Elimination Chamber on this show. It's going to be a match for the heavyweight championship. Drew McIntyre has to defend the title in the chamber, which has so many different ramifications. Where do we even begin? First of all, by this match being a title match, you're screwing up everything. You're screwing up everything. You have essentially made Edge delay his decision because he doesn't want to choose Drew McIntyre and then maybe have Drew McIntyre lose and be stuck with somebody maybe he didn't want to end up facing. So that screws that up. It also screws everything up on the Blue brand, because if Edge is not going to make his decision before the Elimination Chamber, then SmackDown can't use that structure to set up their number one contender for Roman Reigns if Edge doesn't choose the champion of the Blue brand, which it almost doesn't seem like he's going to. If he was going to choose Roman Reigns, then why would he leave it at like this and have to make sure that the Raw champion is still going to be Drew? If he's not going to pick Drew McIntyre, then what does he care? Why? Because he thinks The Miz is going to win and he could beat The Miz easily? Because that's a ridiculous line of logic. He should have already known who he was going to face. So if the Elimination Chamber is only putting in jeopardy Drew McIntyre's championship, then it would beg to reason that Edge is probably going to challenge for the Raw Championship, leaving SmackDown without an Elimination Chamber match for the guys. What would be the reason to put on a chamber match for SmackDown? Maybe they'll give it to the women of that brand. I doubt it. I don't even think there are 6 women on SmackDown, but that's another story for another day. Another way this screws everything up is because there are no new stars being pushed in this chamber at all. WWE went to its well of just taking the older veterans, because you have to be a former champion to qualify. So this leaves us with Drew McIntyre defending his championship against Randy Orton, which as soon as that name was announced, red flags went up all over in my brain. Jeff Hardy, who has done nothing but beat up Elias over the course of the last 3 weeks, so obviously that deserves a championship opportunity, because, beating up Elias is championship material. I don't know. Then there's AJ Styles, who I don't mind being put in this match. Sheamus, that absolutely makes sense since he's been feuding with Drew, and he's supposed to be having the match at the Elimination Chamber with Drew one-on-one anyway. And then you have The Miz. The Miz, who is the one person in this thing who has 0 chance of winning, but makes the least sense of being in here, and actually makes The Miz look like an even bigger idiot than he makes himself look like, because why would you put yourself through this match? The whole point of the Money in the Bank is to take advantage of a situation exactly like this, not to go out there and try to win the match and have it in your back pocket like a failsafe. You're supposed to sit back, watch everybody get their ass kicked, and then when the cage goes up, boom, you strike. You win, you walk out the champion. Edge laid out the framework for everybody all those years ago at the New Year's Revolution. It's a very easy formula to follow. But let's just say, for example, we all know The Miz is not winning this match. He's in there to be an easy pinfall for somebody. But let's say The Miz happened to win this matchup. What happens to the Money in the Bank then? What, does he just hand it over to John Morrison? Why bother even having the Money in the Bank briefcase? They've ruined this briefcase this year on such a level. Like I said, we all know The Miz isn't winning. So it's going to be a non-issue when it all comes down to the end. But why? Why would he even be in this match? It's stupid. You know what I would have done? What I would have done is I would have had Drew McIntyre in there. First of all, I would have never put Drew McIntyre in an Elimination Chamber. I would be using it in a much better capacity than this. But if I had a gun to my head and I had to put Drew McIntyre in this matchup, I'm going with his challengers being Bobby Lashley, Riddle, AJ, Sheamus, and Keith Lee. We don't need a triple threat for the United States Championship. You've done really not all that much outside of tonight to build up Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley, and you've made Matt Riddle look like a clown for the last 2 months. He's lost to Bobby Lashley in the Hurt Business at every turn. What is he doing even being considered for a United States Championship matchup? I don't know. But you could have squashed all of that by putting those 3 men in the Elimination Chamber match, giving some newer blood an opportunity. Whether or not they're going to win doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. But as it stands right now, we have this ridiculous chamber matchup. You gotta believe Randy Orton's gonna win this thing, right? Because the WWE is gonna want to set up Randy Orton versus Edge for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Well, what happens to Drew McIntyre? Well, that's where Sweat Machine O'Mackin comes in. And Drew McIntyre is going to be pissed off. This was all Shane's doing, even though Adam Pearce seemed to be the one pulling the strings behind it all. So we'll probably get Drew versus Shane at WrestleMania this year. Edge versus Randy for the title. Unless The Fiend somehow gets involved, who was not on Monday Night Raw tonight, nor was Alexa Bliss. These guys, I guess, are off on vacation, or they couldn't think of some corny supernatural shit to do tonight, so they gave them the night off. But let's say The Fiend cost Randy Orton the championship at the Elimination Chamber. What are they going to do with that? Well, maybe set up Randy versus The Fiend at WrestleMania, and then you can have Edge versus Drew, or Edge versus Roman, or in that case, since you're having this Elimination Chamber match, what I would do is I would take this as an opportunity to put the belt on AJ Styles, because AJ Styles versus Edge at WrestleMania, to me, is greater than the other 2 matches. Even Edge versus Roman. It doesn't really make too much sense. I mean, you have an ultra babyface versus the biggest heel in the company right now, but I would put all my money down on Edge versus AJ, and I would be surprised if that's not the whole reasoning behind this thing. AJ's a natural heel. Drew right now is being pushed as a babyface. He's a cringy babyface, but he's being pushed as a babyface nonetheless. So the dynamic is off, and you would have a better thing going for the main event of WrestleMania, but that remains to be seen. I don't know that that's how it's going to work out. That's how I can wish for it to work out. But at the end of the day, The Miz on Raw was threatening that regardless who wins at the Elimination Chamber, he's cashing in no matter what. Good luck doing that when you're unconscious after somebody murders you in the chamber, Miz. Unless Morrison comes out there and puppets your ass over somebody, it's not going to make a lick of difference. I doubt everything in life that The Miz is going to end up leaving the Elimination Chamber as the champion. He may cash in, but I doubt he's going to win. And he may join the list of people that have become losers cashing in that thing. And it would only be fitting because he already has lost his cash in. They gave it back to him on a loophole. And it's worthless. It's still absolutely worthless, and I can't wait till it's done. All in all, I don't really care that Raw's getting a chamber. I just wish it wasn't for the championship. I wish they had better things to do and better creative for Drew McIntyre going forward. You have another pay-per-view after the Elimination Chamber before we even get to WrestleMania. God knows what they're going to do for that useless piece of trash, Fastlane. You want to talk about some useless pieces of trash? Let's talk about bam, bam. I'm still with Ric Flair. I'm fighting Asuka. I'm gonna beat the champion. They had got an extra long hammering there, and I'm trying my best to not let this ruin everything, because everybody knows how most of us feel about Lacey Evans. First of all, I've been calling her Charlotte 2.0. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has used that phrase, but I'm pretty sure I've been using it from the beginning. Because the minute I saw her, I said, oh, Vince loves this girl. She looks just like Charlotte Flair. It's Vince's fantasy come to life times 2. Right? We said this from the get-go. And now Ric Flair's talking about her being Charlotte 2.0. It's not a romantic sexual thing. I guess he wants another daughter? Or is he trying to humble his daughter? I don't know. But you know what I do know? I don't care. I don't care about any of this. I don't care that you put Ric Flair and his one gigantic right ear. Did anybody else catch that? What was with Ric Flair? He had one ear was like kind of gone, and then the other ear was like twice the size of a normal human ear. I hope everything's alright with Rick. Is that something that happens to him when he gets pissed off? Is it like a Pinocchio thing? Rick's blood pressure's rising, maybe his ear swells up. I don't know. Is it something we should be concerned about? Maybe he should go see a doctor. I don't know. I don't know these things. I'm not a professional in the medical field. But what I do know is that it looked fucking weird. It looked about as weird as him being against Charlotte Flair. Is anybody buying this? Is anybody buying any of this shit? No. But what's going to happen is the WWE is about to sacrifice Asuka. They're going to sacrifice Asuka to one of the worst people possible. Think about it, you guys. I don't want to admit this at all, but they're going to give Lacey Evans the championship. What other reason would there have been to put Ric Flair as her manager? And if she challenges Asuka with Rick as her manager and doesn't end up the champion, then what was the point? What would be the point of it all? To make her continue to be a loser? I know a lot of people are thinking maybe Charlotte Flair is going to get involved and Asuka will remain the champion. That's maybe best case scenario. But the fact that what they did tonight with Lacey and Charlotte makes Charlotte look like one of the dumbest people in the world is dumbfounding to me. Makes me feel like a dumb idiot. She was having a match versus Lacey Evans. All Charlotte Flair had to do was win. All she had to do was win. And Lacey Evans would not be getting a championship match with Asuka. If Lacey beats Charlotte, she will receive a shot against the champion at the Chamber matchup. Long story short, Charlotte Flair beat the crap out of Lacey Evans for quite some time. This match was given way too much time. And then she beat her up so bad that the ref disqualified her because she got carried away. So at the end of the day, Lacey Evans is getting a championship match because she got her ass kicked. Isn't that lovely? And we're all going to have to stomach this, and everybody get ready. Because we're not going to have to be worried about Nia screaming, "My hole! My hole!" We're going to have to be worried about Lacey Evans holding the Women's Championship of Monday Night Raw. Personally, does it matter? Does it matter? It's interchangeable at this point, especially if you're putting her with Ric Flair. I'll just imagine it's still Charlotte. What's the difference? And then all they're going to do is going to hand it from one Charlotte to the other. Probably extend this shit and give Lacey a WrestleMania moment against the Queen. And she'll have her comeuppance, and then Charlotte and Rick will reunite, and they'll have a hug, and they'll woo all over WrestleMania. I don't care. I don't care. There was not really much to care about on this show. As we said, Shane McMahon kicked it off with Adam Pearce, making him look like a complete jackass in the process. They announced the Elimination Chamber. They announced the participants. Nobody was happy about it, especially not Drew McIntyre, who bumped into Shane in the back and was like, "Yo, what are you doing, man?" I'm paraphrasing here, of course. And Shane said they needed a big match, and McIntyre in the chamber was a big match. And then he left in his limo, leaving us with this little bit of tension between the two of them. I'm telling you, if Drew loses the title, we're getting Drew versus Shane O'Mac. Drew Mac versus Shane O'Mac at WrestleMania. And that'll probably be the tagline because they're just that damn corny. We had AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy. AJ Styles defeated Jeff Hardy in a 15-minute long matchup. That was entertaining. I've seen this matchup before. I've seen it many times before. I've seen it in TNA when it was much, much better than what I had to see here tonight. But whatever. If this was AJ versus Jeff Hardy for entry into the Elimination Chamber, it would have been much more exciting. But this was just giving us a preview of what's to come in the chamber. How is this a preview of what's to come in the chamber when there's not a piece of steel or a pod or anything in and around the ring right now? It's not a preview of the chamber match. It's just a regular match. and there's no meaning or anything behind it, so why do we care? I cared about this about as much as I cared about Bad Bunny being with Damian Priest. Once again, we had Damian Priest and this Bad Bunny character. I don't have a problem with him. I don't. I just don't know who he is. I don't know his music. I'm sure he is bringing in fans by the millions. Apparently, his shirt, as of today, or whatever merch he has on WWE.com, is #1. And that's good for him. You know what it's not good for? It's not good for us, the fans. Because what this means is that there is not one star on the current roster right now that can outsell a guest starring hip-hop artist from Puerto Rico. Can you imagine back in the heyday of the Attitude Era if they had Snoop Dogg come in, or maybe Dr. Dre or Eminem or whoever, or Limp Bizkit, who actually did come in, right? Remember when Limp Bizkit came in, he was rolling with The Undertaker, right? Imagine they put out a rolling t-shirt, and that was the #1 t-shirt on Shop Zone back in the day over Stone Cold Steve Austin? I don't think so. Over The Undertaker's merchandise? Hell no, there's no chance that's what it would have. But here in 2021, we have somebody that I don't even know, and some of you guys might not even know him, and that's not a slight on him. It's just, I'm big in pop culture. I know lots of music. I'm on Spotify all the time. The one guy I've never come across is this Bad Bunny character. And it's not bad, but what does it say that this guy, who's not even known universally around the world, maybe I'll say, I don't know how to say it without pissing somebody off or offending somebody, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that this guy's outselling everybody on the roster. He's outselling The Fiend. He's outselling Roman Reigns in merch. Jesus. What has the world of wrestling come to? It's crazy. I'm sure you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we had Keith Lee and Matt Riddle in the back talking about Air Bud, the movie. Apparently, Matt Riddle was so stoned he sat through all 3 episodes or all 3 movies rather, Air Bud 1, 2, and 3. I guess Keith Lee took offense to this, or maybe Keith Lee didn't like the Air Bud movies. So for some reason, we're having a match between these 2 guys later on tonight. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods went up against Teabag and Slapnuts of Mustafa Ali's Retribution faction. This story continues to go on, and I continue to not care. Now that Xavier has his partner back, Kofi Kingston's jaw is in place, and he took his place with his former partner, and they defeated Retribution, going back to their losing ways tonight. And for some reason, as he was walking away after they won, Xavier Woods kept screaming for Reckoning. Where's Reckoning? He's looking for Mia Yim. I don't know. I don't really care. Charlotte Flair, Lacey Evans, face to face. This just got worse and worse. Ric Flair and Lacey started it off. This is where Ric Flair started to clue everybody in. It's like, listen, this isn't a romantic thing. He's not about sleeping with Lacey Evans. All he wants to do is take her to the next level. And this was kind of weird here, but he wanted something different for himself. He knew Charlotte was great, but she didn't need his help. Lacey Evans, she needs his help. Rick sees potential in her because he's looking at his daughter. He sees, oh, this is another version of my daughter, but she's not as over as everybody else. She needs my help. I'm going to help my little girl. And then Charlotte's like, but Dad, that's not me. And he's like, I know, but shush. Whoosh. I don't know, I imagine the exchange being something like that. Anyway, this all went nowhere. Charlotte came out. Next thing you know, Lacey Evans hit Charlotte with a microphone. Lacey Evans accepted the match because that was the funny thing. She happened to hear from management that if she can beat Charlotte, she'll be next in line for Asuka. So Charlotte wanted to fight her right now. Ric Flair was like, no, we're going to do this on our time and whatever. Lacey Evans accepted the match, and on we would go. Lacey defeated Charlotte Flair via disqualification. This was a hard match to watch. It was slow, it was way too long, and the outcome just made me hate it even more. It's another one of these weird botchy endings by the WWE, and I hated every minute of it. I also was not too crazy about Edge's appearance on the show tonight. While it did what it had to do to set up what they're trying to tell, the story they're trying to tell for the Elimination Chamber and for WrestleMania, I just found myself sitting there feeling like, okay, so Edge came out here to tell us he still hasn't made a decision. Great job. Great job, buddy. Why don't you come back when you got something to tell us? This was just filler here. He got interrupted by The Miz and John Morrison, who for some reason have Angel Garza on their side. I don't care about any of this. Angel Garza just, I guess, goes where there's a bunch of people. He used to be with Zelina and Andrade. Now he'll just be with Miz and Morrison. They're all interchangeable parts. What's the difference anyway? He just was there tonight to fill in for his team and take the loss so that Damian Priest and Bad Bunny could get some momentum built towards whatever it is they're freaking planning at WrestleMania. Listen, Edge's promo was great. He called The Miz out on his bullshit, telling him that he was playing high-stakes poker and The Miz is playing old maid. Says, you keep talking about being champion, but Edge swears that he needs to be champion, and he dropped the mic and walked out. I don't think Edge needs to be champion. I think Edge really wants to be champion because he never lost his title. So he feels like he needs to be champion, which is a dangerous state of mind to be in, which is what's also making me think that he's going to challenge for the Raw belt, because that is the belt he's talking about when he says, I never lost my title. We'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. Damian Priest defeated Angel Garza with ease in less than 5 minutes. This was worthless. Didn't do anything. Bad Bunny was out there. He had pyro. He had his song as an entrance theme. He had 3D graphics. You know who didn't have any of those things? Damian Priest. The guy he's managing. Instead of him coming out to all his own little shit, shouldn't he have come out with Damian Priest to Damian Priest stuff, since he's supposed to be accompanying and putting over Damian Priest? Was it that necessary to have 3D rabbit heads flying at my face? And why does he have pyro, but Damian Priest has the perfect little setup with his little bow and arrow flip, but he gets no pyro? He's the superstar, is he not? Like, I know Bad Bunny's the superstar outside, but this is the world of wrestling, so shouldn't Damian Priest be the one? I don't know. Am I nitpicking a little bit? Possibly. I'm just saying, this could have been better. Could have been worse. I'll take it at face value for what it is. The next matchup on the evening... Oh, I'm sorry. We had Bianca Belair interviewed in the back by Charlie Caruso. This was a good interview. She, like Edge, came here to say exactly what she said on SmackDown. She was confronted by Asuka. It got really weird, as it does when Asuka comes around and starts talking about stuff. She says that Bianca Belair is still not ready for Asuka. Bianca Belair swears that she is. And that will be it. And she said that if Asuka wins against Lacey Evans, that she might be sticking around on Monday Night Raw a little bit longer, hinting that she too may be challenging Asuka for the Raw belt, leaving Sasha's fate a little bit up in the air, knowing WWE, if that's the move Bianca makes, because who the hell on Raw is gonna step up and face Asuka by the time WrestleMania comes around? Sasha Banks might end up fighting Carmella with Reggie again. Little old Reginald, the sommelier, are fake, are lies, are false. Are you done with this yet? Because I am totally done with it. The best match of the night, Keith Lee versus Keith Riddle. Keith Riddle? No, Matt Riddle. Keith Lee defeated Riddle in a match that should have been given maybe a little bit more time. This was kind of like a hoss fight. These guys went out there and were just throwing it, man. Keith Lee looked great. I thought even in defeat, Matt Riddle looked great here. What didn't look great was when Bobby Lashley came out, because MVP was on commentary, being that both of these guys have eyes on Bobby Lashley's championship. At the end of this matchup, after Keith Lee was victorious, Bobby Lashley came out and laid waste to both of them. He made Keith Lee look almost like nothing. He made Matt Riddle look like a paper bag again, just getting him in the hurt lock and just flailing him around like a tiny little child man boy. This is all being put together and worked so that they can have this United States Championship triple threat match at the pay-per-view just 2 weeks away. An unnecessary championship matchup. As I said at the top of the show, I would have put this trio in the Elimination Chamber instead of some of these other names that they threw in there. I'm not looking forward to another Randy Orton title reign. I think putting these guys in there would have done much more for them than a triple threat match where Keith Lee's going to just probably lose. But this was a very good starting point for a Keith Lee feud with Bobby Lashley, if that is truly the intention. I don't know where Matt Riddle is going to end up in all this, but time will tell, and we will have to wait and see. Randy Orton cut a promo in the back. He said he and McIntyre have unfinished business, and he planned on taking the title back at the Chamber. This title means everything to him, and he will stop at nothing to get it. Yada, 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 the same old stuff that they say, and he's walking into WrestleMania as champion once again. Good for you, Randy. I'm glad your face is all cleared up. How's your Miracle Cream doing? Then we had a tables match, which was announced out of nowhere in a graphic at the beginning of the show. Lana versus Nia Jax. We talked about this. Nia Jax loses. It was one of those accidentally pushed into a table spots where Lana should have never won this match. Some sort of a comeuppance for her, some sort of vengeance for Lana after being put through a table 9 times. They made sure to show you all of these table spots to remind you that she was put through the table 9 times by Nia Jax, so that by the end of this match, maybe you'd be excited when Lana won by accident. But no, and as we talked about already, which I don't want to even talk about again, but Nia Jax selling the butthole injury is all anybody can talk about, so obviously this match was as boring as I thought it was, and we will all forget about it regardless, but we will never forget that picture with that face and Nia Jax screaming about her butthole. Isn't that great? Isn't that special? Let's move on quickly, shall we? Naomi would follow up defeating Shayna Baszler in a match that had almost no time to it. This came after a little altercation after Lana had beaten Nia Jax. This was nothing. It's giving a little bit of momentum, I guess, to Naomi and Lana, being that they are now the only women's tag team on Raw, so they're going to be pushed forward, I guess, in the championship matchup. Whatever. And then we had the main event of the evening. Randy Orton defeated Drew McIntyre via disqualification in a non-title matchup, thanks to Shamey McShamus coming out and bro-kicking the face off of his former best friend. This was just bad. This was bad. This was a boring, a typical standard Randy Orton matchup that was finished with a DQ, maybe like the 3rd or 4th DQ finish of the night. Drew McIntyre moved out of the way of the bro kick. See, I fell asleep like I told you, so I forgot all about it. I didn't even really go back to watch it. I'm reading it here for the first time. All I knew is that he lost because Sheamus got him disqualified. So McIntyre laid out Sheamus with a Claymore kick because he hit Randy Orton instead, which is why he got the win. Who cares? This is pointless. All of this building towards an Elimination Chamber matchup, that's what it was. Oh, this is 3 of the 6 men that'll be challenging inside the chamber. You know what hurts now? My hole. My butthole hurts from watching Monday Night Raw. My hole. What a piece of crap episode of Raw this was. It may not have been as bad as Legends Night. That might still hold the record this week, or this year rather, for the worst Raw of the year so far. But boy, was it bad. And it was absolutely worthless. I pointed out to you guys all of the things wrong, all of the reasons why, and now you can be smarter for it. You feel more educated. You may even be a little bit more excited for upcoming WWE events because you know that when it's over, the hammer is coming down. Thank you all so much tonight for participating in the poll. We had that cool little segment. You want that stuff to happen a little bit more often? Be more interactive, and you can do that by checking out the YouTube comments page and the YouTube homepage, where we have a beautiful community board filled with our beautiful community of sledgeheads, which you can be a part of by hitting that subscribe button right now. If you haven't done so already, please, we welcome you to subscribe and join the family. We are growing here. If you had a great time here today, smash that like button. If you didn't enjoy all of the Nia Jax butthole stuff, give me that thumbs up. Saying thumbs up and butthole in the same sentence feels wrong. So let's erase that, and let's just say hit the like button if you had fun here today. Share this video with anybody you think might have fun watching this show, and encourage them too to become a sledgehead just like you. And most importantly, make sure you're notified so that you don't miss a thing, because sometimes Randy and crew put me to sleep, and we have to follow up with the show at a different and not our regularly scheduled time, and you won't miss it if you're notified. So make sure you do that. Thank you all for all your support, and again for participating in the poll. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.